Yo, beautiful motherfuckers. What's going on? We're ready for another episode of the Bull-NA-ChinaShop podcast. Episode 42, actually. The big 4-2. It's not important, actually. There's no significance really behind number 42 other than it'll be the first time, I don't know what episode it'll be, but we will be podcasting from Australia in September. Super excited about that. This week, I have another super high value guest because somebody that's been a pioneer in the American Bully, somebody that's been around bull breeds for a long fucking time, accomplished a lot in the ring, accomplished a lot as far as productions go, and watching other people produce with his productions. Owner of HEFF, the first ABKC Nationals winner, Wrong Turn, the English Bulldog Winston. Started with West Coast Blue Pits. You know, that's basically the banner he made his name under. Currently West Coast Brahma. Mr. Bo Bettencourt, thank you for being on the show, sir. Welcome.
Appreciate it, Ty. Glad to be here.
Now, just to get the dick stroking out of the way up front, always been a fan of what you do with the American Bullies, the English Bulldog breedings I've seen you put together, and the Brahma stuff that you've been working on as of late. Always had a lot of respect for the productions that come out of your breedings, and the fact that you've been a relevant figure and name in bull breeds and especially the American Bully going a decade. I mean, I don't know if you have American Bullies now, or if it's just more focused on the Brahmas, but you know, that's something, longevity in breeding, that's something, it's a very small percentage of the community attains. That's not something that, it's a very high turnover in breeding. So I just have a lot of respect for the fact that you've been able to do it for, it's probably more like 15 or closer to 20 years than just a decade, but even getting to 10 years, that's awesome.
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely not something you see every day. It seems like with these bullies, it's got more the mentality of a here today, gone tomorrow type of nature. And to be a part of something, anything for that matter, but especially as something as fast-paced as the breeding community for any significant amount of time it's a challenge. I mean, you definitely have to stay on your toes and have some clear visions of where you want to go with your program in order to do that. And I've been real fortunate, not only within myself and what I've done, but surrounding myself with some pretty quality people. It's never about you, and it seems like that's one big thing today that's been lost somehow, is everybody wants the instant gratification, me. But what you don't realize is to build anything quality, it takes a good team behind you. A good team that you can rely on to be there and help pack the torch when times are needed, help you see that vision through. And I'm blessed and fortunate that I've been able to be relevant for as many years as I have.
Yeah, dude, I feel like when I got in to American Bullies, HEFF was like, there was the Gotti line. People were talking about Juan Gotti and Monster when I got in. The Razor's Edge people were talking about HEFF and Kamali and Kai and Little Row. It was just that he was one of the names that was just like, that was, if there was a Mount Rushmore at that time, he would have definitely been on it, Now, I think a lot of people are confused on this. Also, did you produce HEFF?
Most definitely.
Right. And that's what I've always thought. It's what it kind of says on paper. I'm not sure where that that controversy, and it's honestly, it's not something that I've heard in a long time, you know. So maybe it was just somebody running their mouth and they got straightened out about it, you know.
Well, anytime you do something that attracts attention, you're going to have people that try to get some credit, steal some shine, you know, maybe move that their direction.
Every time.
Make no bones about it. I owned his mother, Sativa, a direct Dozer Daisy daughter that John down there at Blue Pit Kennels produced way back in the day. Original Razor's Edge dogs, Dozer Daisy.
What year are we talking? What year are we talking? What year was HEFF born? What year did that breeding go down?
I believe I remember HEFF was born in 05. I used a stud service. I sent the bitch Sativa down to New Orleans. If people remember the guy by the name of Sean Galmore, True Tank Kennels, way back in the day. His partner Curtis Plattner ended up sending him a dog named Menace. Sent this stud dog Menace down to New Orleans, and I sent the bitch down, did the breeding, ended up, brought the bitch back, whelped the litter right here in Oregon. My vet did the C-section, as a matter of fact. So I don't know if it gets any more production of your own to call it that than that, but I definitely use a stud service. I definitely whelp the litter. So, let the chits fall where they may.
Right. I mean, if the bottom line is if you own the female, it's your production. I mean,
It was no pup back deal. I mean, it was a straight cash stud service. I paid the stud fee. I mean, hey, whatever it is, whatever someone wants to construe that as, they can. It's water under the bridge at this point.
It's pretty cut and dry, though. I feel like that's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
So that was 2005. HEFF was born. Now, did you know right away that he was going to be special? Because I know that was there was a few dogs in that litter that were nice, right?
Yeah, there was a couple, actually. He had a sister that ended up Marco, Team Paco line, whatever you want to refer to it as, Marco Suarez. He ended up getting HEFF's sister, Inca Warrior, from me. She was probably the other significant dog from that litter. Lewis, people remember him possibly, Oregon Coast Kennels. Actually, even an ex-partner of mine way back in the day. He had a dog named Tough. And then the other dog actually went over to the Philippines. There was one more female, and she went to the Philippines. As far as did I know it was what it turned out to be? Nah, man. I mean, all I knew at the time is that was the baddest fucking dog I'd ever produced. Had my mind blown from that standpoint. But could have I said the minute I saw him, he was going to turn out to be a national champion or a dog that would start a movement? No way. I don't think anybody can do that until you've produced enough dogs that you can truly see something in the litter right out of the box and say, this dog's got a lot of potential. All I knew at the time was that dog was the baddest one I'd ever produced. That was about it.
Right. That's a word I use a lot, potential. People ask me daily about puppies and young adults and even 2-year-olds. And I'm like, the dog, the puppies, they have potential, but you never know what's going to happen. You never know. First of all, especially like a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-month-old puppy, you don't really know what's gonna come out and the end product is going to be. So it's tough. It's tough to get too excited for me. I mean, it's tough to get excited until 12 months, 14 months, And then you really can't get too excited until they do something, win something, or produce something.
Well, I can say this. If you're breeding within your own line, your own generations of your own productions, if you're 4, 5, 6 generations down plus, I'm pretty sure, I know for at least myself, I can look at some of the younger dogs and say, this one's got a lot of potential. Like if he keeps or she keeps going at this rate, this dog, the future is extremely bright.
Right.
But that's simply a result of knowing my stock. I'm not one of these guys that buys dogs and breeds to a stud. I mean, how in the hell do you know what it's going to be if you're buying dogs and breeding to stud services. I mean, I've never succeeded at that. That's been pretty tough for me, pretty challenging, and something I've shied away from. I've had more success just staying within my box, staying within my realm, because I know what to expect. I know what my blood brings to the table, and I know when I need to go out and get something from a feature standpoint. Like, and think of it like a toolbox. It's pretty hard to run a hex head bolt in with a damn screwdriver. You probably need a socket set, right? So if you don't have one, you need to go get it. And that's the way I've looked at breeding, is more kind of like a toolbox. And I know what's in my toolbox. I'll put it that way.
Brian, it's sometimes, especially back in those days, you didn't know what the fuck people were putting in their toolbox.
Absolutely not. That's what made it even more challenging is, how in the world, if you don't know what's behind those dogs, if you don't know truly who the mother or the father was, and you go and you match them up, you're getting characteristics, you're getting traits that on paper or looking at photos, you can't just draw the arrow, connect the dots, and you're left scratching your head going, well, damn, the father's got a beautiful head, or whatever the feature may be, but yet I can't seem to get those traits out of them. Well, or you know what I'm saying? It just makes it tough if you weren't there, you didn't see it, you don't know what made that dog. That's always been my challenge in days past or earlier times with American bullies.
Right. Now, as far as HEFF, when was the first time you put him in the show ring? And like back then, what kind of shows were there? Like what could you even expect going to a show? One at a time. I tend to ask 4 or 5 fucking questions at a time just because my brain's going so quick. So just take them one at a time, man. That's, you're going to get just a barrage of fucking questions this whole time. So, but when was the first time you had HEFF in the ring?
I put HEFF in the ring the first time was something they had called the Dust Bowl down in Texas. I remember right, Byron is the one that put that on. I could be wrong. We're talking days gone by, but I believe it was the Dust Bowl when HEFF was about 10 months down in Texas was the first time I ever took him out, took him to a show, really put him in front of the public at all, from that matter.
What kind of response did you guys get?
He won, as far as not the whole show, but he won his age group and just got an extreme amount of love and attention, and it just really grew from there. Basically, every show I took him to from then, or get together, barbecue, that was a big thing back then, is we didn't even really have shows. It was mainly like get-togethers up and down this West Coast where there'd be a barbecue going on. You'd load up a couple dogs, bring some chairs, maybe a banner or whatever if you had one, a pop-up tent, and you'd just go down and barbecue. A lot of those happened in California at the time, and that's what you would see, and then it just kind of grew and grew and grew to the point to where today, or I should say 07, 08, that range, man, there was fucking shows all over the map every day, every weekend of the month. You had multiple shows to go to, and in some respects, I think that's what kind of diluted the attractiveness or the luster, because initially when it happened, the first few shows we had, if you were somebody, that was the only show going on for maybe the next 2-3 months. So from coast to coast, if you had anything that you wanted to get in front of people's eyes, well, that was the place to do it at. So everybody came to the shows. You saw all the big name dogs together, and it was basically like a mano-a-mano stack-off. A lot of times, it was the hotel where everybody would stay at was absolutely off the charts out in the parking lot. And we'd have big parties in the parking lot the night before the show, talking hundreds of people just with all their dogs out in the parking lot, stacking up pictures, stuff like that. So, when you look back at it in that sense, man, there's been a lot that's changed over the years.
Yeah, for sure. And, some for the good, but some for the bad too. I feel like that meet and greet style of party Friday night before the show, that's definitely a lost art now. So I definitely miss that, because that's where you would see, even some stuff there. People back then would bring dogs out the Friday night, and not necessarily even take them or bring them out at the show Saturday. So sometimes you even got to see a sneak peek of some shit that not everybody at the show got to see. So, and you kind of, it was more of a camaraderie with the Friday night meet and greets, because everybody got more comfortable with each other, and you had a few adult beverages, and everybody loosened up a little bit. So the show Saturday, it was definitely more of a easygoing, laid back vibe in the building, even, I think.
Oh, no question. Absolutely. I mean,
I'm not talking '07, because I was not around '07. Even like, I'm talking 2010, 2009, 2010, 2011 even. We were still, the meet and greet the night before and all that stuff was still going on. So I feel like that was something that was ingrained in the culture for a long time, and I'm not sure how we got so far away from it.
Well, I mean, this is just an observation, but some of the stuff that I've seen that maybe led to that is back then, and I say back then, I'm talking like '04, '05, '06, '07, those type of eras. The dog breed, the American bullies, were still really up and coming. So people were more willing to be complimentary to another person's dog, want to attempt to incorporate the blood of another person's dog into their own programs. And I guess the right word is maybe showing more respect back then. Quality's quality, and if I stack my dog next to yours, and quite frankly, yours is better, well, shit, I'm a fool not to try to incorporate that dog in some way.
Right.
And then I feel like, kind of fast forward, things got so fucking competitive that people would maybe it turned into a me thing, and they didn't want to show the next man respect. They didn't want to show this dog the love, because, well, shit, that might take away from their shine a little bit. And heaven forbid you show somebody else some respect, show some love their direction. Well, you kind of see where I'm going with all that. And it seemed like that's what happened over time, especially when you're sitting in a show and you see across the aisle from you at a show, 7 booths down, a group of individuals always looking your way, always looking at your dogs, maybe even taking pictures from afar, but yet never actually showing the respect of walking up to your booth, sticking out their hand, introduce themselves, and say, hey, nice dogs, man, I nothing but respect. You know what I mean?
Right, but maybe you were just like they were like starstruck. Maybe you were like a superstar then, but they were intimidated to it, like a beautiful woman at the bar. They were intimidated to approach you. They couldn't get the courage up to come say hi. Maybe.
Hey, you know what? That's another way of looking at it, and it's quite possible. But I'll tell you what. One thing I've learned over life in general is everybody's just humans. Nobody better than the next person. We're all just humans. So you know what?
But there is. I mean, credit to what you were saying, there is some shady motherfuckers, and there's going to be a certain percentage of shady motherfuckers in every aspect of life, no matter what you're doing. If it's cars, if it's guns, if it's snakes, if it's dogs, if it's your job, if it's, you know what I mean, if it's golf on the weekends, there's going to be a dickhead among them, among every group. So, and I've had it done. I went through it with Jackpot. People, taking pictures from afar and taking the worst pictures they possibly could and photoshopping the pictures they did take to make them look worse. And there is people out there going through that for sure. But I find that, like, most of the time, people are just, like, scared to approach a lot of the people that they emulate on social media. Or, you see, especially, I can't even imagine back then, you see HEFF sitting down there and you're like, holy fuck, that's HEFF right there. They were probably like, they were sitting in their booth like, holy fuck, that's HEFF right there. And then, you know, they're elbowing each other. Go down there. Just go down there and say hi. Just go down there and say, you know, hey, can we take a picture with HEFF? No, I'm not going down there. You go down. No. I can imagine how it plays out on the weekends. I've seen it. Just you know, this year, especially this year, stepping back from judging a little bit and kind of being back just on the spectator side and the, you know, promoter side of shit. I definitely see it even now with the dogs that are in the ring with Rocco when we had Rocco featured in the Bull-NA-ChinaShop booth a couple of different shows. People would just like stand from afar and not really approach the booth to look at him or the group of people that were looking at him, and you get to talking to him and they're just like, well, he's like, in their household he's famous. Like, that's a celebrity, that dog. So I can imagine it was the same way worse with HEFF.
Well, and you're right. Maybe there's some truth to that. I've just always looked at it as we're all people. Hey, you breathe, you eat, you shit, you know what I mean?
Right.
You put your pants on the same way I do. So if I can learn something from the next person, maybe they got something going on or some tactics or whatever, methodology, whatever may have you, that if I can glean something, I can learn something from that person. Well, I'm a fool if I don't take the initiative to at least go up and introduce myself and see what that person's all about. But maybe that's just me. That's my personality. And that's probably what it boils down to as much as anything is a person's personality.
Well, I'm sure it has a lot to do with why you're successful also. You know, getting in there and digging in, going down rabbit holes and asking questions, and I'm sure it has a lot to do with why you're successful. And getting back to what, you know, basically the topic of the episode, longevity in breeding, I'm sure that has contributed to your success over the long term also, because that's not, like we were talking earlier, it's not really something that you see. It's a small percentage of people that can be successful breeding, and even smaller percentage of people that can do it over a long period of time, a decade or more, we'll say.
No question. It's a challenge that I think people face every day, maybe a select few, but to do anything for an extended period of time, you better at least have some talent there, some skill set to bring to the table, but to actually remain relevant over an extended period of time, that's difficult. That's tough. That's the biggest challenge to do with breeding, because it's not necessarily what you did yesterday. It's always about what you're doing today. What can you do for me tomorrow?
Yeah.
There's a new dog produced every day that all of a sudden, as a result of social media and maybe some Photoshop or maybe some glorified pics, it's an overnight superstar, and it happens all the time.
Yeah, no, I agree 1,000%. You know, being relevant for a long period of time is even more difficult than just sticking around, because if you have a good regular job, a good 9 to 5, you can afford to stick around, not really being that successful, I guess, as far as breeding goes. But being relevant, definitely, that's even something on another step, another level above just being sticking around. But again, I feel like that's your attitude towards it. Definitely, I'm sure has contributed to that success and to that staying relevant, especially when you switch up, when you know, I've accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish with the American Bullies. Now I'm going to tackle a new challenge like Brahma Bulls. That's even more difficult, because now you're stepping into a world where it's not really a big spotlight on it anyway, and now you've got to make your own. You've got to kind of get your own shine in a brand new area or a brand new breed, you know. So it's even more difficult going that route.
Oh, no question. And to be honest, really, you kind of touched on it. How that whole deal came about was, like you said, I accomplished as much as I wanted to do within the American Bullies. I felt I had a very successful period of time that I bred those dogs for, and I liked what I produced. But at the same time, I still wanted more. I wasn't the type of person that was willing to go out there and lie and paper hang and throw a bulldog in here or there, or maybe a Frenchie or any, shorty bulls or whatever have you. That wasn't really my MO. So when I was approached by Clint Arthur, Go Big, Go Home, some people from the American Bullies might remember him. Dos Equis, he was big into the Excalibur blood. Clint approached me, I want to say it was 09, maybe 2010. I want to say 09 is when Clint approached me. It was like, hey, bro, let's cut all the bullshit. Let's just do this legit. And at the time, I'd thought about it, but yet I'd never really traveled mentally down that path. And so Clint and I had multiple discussions about Brahma, what he envisioned, what he wanted to see. I felt it was something that, hey, you know what? Let's separate the men from the boys. If you can truly make a dog, state what it's out of, put it out there for the world to see, and then continue for generations and do nothing but hopefully get better. Once you get into more generational dogs, well, that's kind of up my alley. So what the hell, Clint? Yeah, let me do some research. I've obviously got the American Bully stock, but I need to find myself some quality English Bulldog stock. And then fortunately, I ran across a dog named Winston at a show, and I knew the minute I saw him, I think he was only like 6 months, 7 months. I just, holy shit, that's a fucking bulldog right there. And I acquired him, I'd say around 6 months later, 8 months later. I had given the owner, hey, here's my phone number. If you ever have the need or the want to sell this dog, at least hit me up and give me an opportunity.
Right.
And he did, and when that happened, well, shit, I made Winston basically the cornerstone from my English Bulldog side. I ran with him mainly, as well as some other select English Bulldogs, and then I used my American Bully stock, and that's essentially what the West Coast Brahma line all stems from. And it all started with a conversation between me and Clint, 09 I think it was.
Right, and that as far as Clint goes, that motherfucker's crazy. I've talked to him also. I've had a couple of long discussions, and he basically told me why he wanted to start Brahmas is because he couldn't get the look of a dog he wanted with American Bullies without doing something that wasn't like you're saying, paper hanging or mixing something. And so like you just said, why not do it the right way? Why not just put it out there and say, this is what it is, this is the cross, this is the mix, these are the generations, this is what we've got into it, this, which I got a lot of respect for that. When I put hands on Winston myself, when I 2 years ago, we were in Oregon, and when I seen him, I was also like, holy fuck, that is an English Bulldog. And I mean, everybody's got their own interpretation of what an English Bulldog is supposed to look like, but that dude is massive, and he's proportionate, and he's typey as fuck, and he's square, and just the mass that's on that dog is absolutely unreal, and the stuff that you're getting off him is unreal. But I want to jump back a little bit before we get too deep in the Brahma thing. I want to jump back to one more question, one more discussion about HEFF. When did you know? Because a lot of people regard HEFF as a dog that has a really good production resume. You know what I mean? A dog that wasn't bred a lot, wasn't really hoard out, wasn't really studded out over, definitely sold some studs and did some breedings, but not over, too much and not overbred and not still a little bit exclusive. And on top of that, a lot of quality coming out of him. When did you know, like how many breedings did you do with him before you kind of knew he was gonna produce for you like that?
Shit, man, that's a tough question. I don't know. I think back then, one of the big differences is that, well, I go back to structure. I mean, I'm a structure breeder. That's where it comes from. It's the physical characteristics structurally. His mother had a phenomenal chest. That's where the chest, the shoulders, have all came from within my stock over all the years. Is really from that bitch Sativa. And so HEFF took those same shoulders. Sativa took those shoulders from her parents. So if you kind of look back up the chain, Dozer, her dad, started it, or at least in her situation. Sativa took it, HEFF took it. So I was pretty confident that from a physical standpoint, I could get that out of him. That would be a dominant characteristic that he would throw. And he did. That was kind of his flavor was let's say like he would take a dog and he would HEFF it out. That was kind of the joke back then, is I want to HEFF this dog out. And really what that all boiled down to is I want to make it bully as shit, not the narrow up under itself type look of a lot of the other dogs that were around, and that's what HEFF did. So when I
right, because we're talking a decade ago. Okay, we're not talking about last fucking weekend. Okay, with your partner Jose down here at the riverbed, right? We're talking a decade ago. Building, in my opinion, still building the foundation of the breed that we're still breeding on today, a lot of us.
Right. No question. You just take the Razor's Edge for itself. Basically, at the time, the Remy line dogs were known for their heads. The Paco stuff that Marco was doing, it was that compact, let's call it micro for the time period bullies. And then you had HEFF, the bully chest, broad, wide stance. You had those three kind of, let's call it bigger followings, and each one of those dogs that they each kind of had a signature that they brought to the table. So you're right, we were still building and trying to incorporate maybe some HEFF with some Paco blood, or some Remy and Paco, then come back to HEFF, do some of that sort of stuff. That's really what we were doing back then. Right. Still trying to, like you say, build the damn dog.
Yeah, so I'm still really trying to figure out what the fuck an American bully even is. You know what I mean? Still trying to find the actual the correct shape to fit into the fucking opening. You know what I mean? To find is it a small compact dog that doesn't have a lot of mass, like you were saying with the Paco stuff and the Suarez stuff? Is it a big, heavy, bulky motherfucking 100-pound dog, like a HEFF or a Kamali type of dog? Is it even like a Remy? They were bigger dogs, but I feel like it was definitely like right in the middle of, the breed was definitely figuring out, and I came in probably right in the middle of when HEFF was like, there was so many like HEFF productions. Just, it was not like everyone had them, but the ones that you seen, the ones that everyone had were really nice, and you knew even couple generations away from him, you were going to get certain traits.
For sure, and I think one thing that made me a little bit different was that I wouldn't just breed HEFF to any dog, any person that came with the money. I mean, if you were around back then, you probably heard the famous Fabian line, put $2,000 in my hand and you got a Remy breeding. I don't care what the hell it is. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't my MO. I always looked at it and said quality over quantity. I'm not willing to sacrifice maybe some money, for a shit dog. And don't get me wrong, you can do all the forethought and planning in the world and think this is going to be the best breeding ever, but shit. Bottom line, I mean, two dogs can make shit that you never in your wildest dreams would have envisioned was going to make shit, but they did.
For sure. It's all about setting yourself up for success, right? It's all about giving yourself a better chance to be successful. If you set yourself up if 50% of the genetics are shit, you're not setting yourself up for success. If both of the dogs are good dogs, you have a better chance of getting quality offspring. You're definitely going to always find some shit in that pile somewhere, though. No matter what breeding or what, there's going to be there's going to be shit off of every stud out there. But I feel like there's not going to be quality off of every stud out there. That's the difference maker. You know what I mean? Every stud's going to throw some shit, but not every stud is going to throw some bangers.
Not every time. And you know what? I don't feel like that's necessarily the dog's fault, because last time I checked, any bitch I threw in the backyard to breed to HEFF, he never turned him down. He was never like, nah, that bitch ain't cut it. I'm going to go elsewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
It was me that was doing the choosing and the selecting as far as what I would breed him to, what I wouldn't breed him to.
Right.
And I felt like, for example, if you got a snipey terrier head and you're trying to block that head up, and you go out there and you breed to another snipey terrier head, well, what the fuck do you think the odds are that you're going to get a snipey terrier-looking head when in reality you were trying to block it up? If you want something, you got to incorporate that particular feature, especially if it's not a predominant trait within the blood you happen to be working with.
Right. If you're not breeding for it, you're going to lose it for sure.
You're going to lose it, and if you don't have it to start with, don't expect it to pop out of nowhere and you to get it all of a sudden. You got to have it to get it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is you got to have it in order to get it.
So you don't believe in like immaculate conception. You don't believe like I could breed my female to my neighbor's male who may or may not be purebred and get some quality stock out of that.
Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely fucking not. You don't know how many times I would field phone calls from people back when HEFF was up and going, and still it happens, but obviously I'm in a little different direction now. But people that they want to match pedigrees. They think that my dog has this pedigree and your dog has that pedigree. Just on paper, can we lay these two pedigrees side by side? And it's like, fuck no. Absolutely not. Because dogs take traits. They don't take just one, just because it's out of, for example, HEFF. They're all going to look the same damn way, carry the same traits, and produce the same traits. That's not true.
They don't carry names. They carry traits.
They carry traits. There you go. Absolutely. And you can't just take two pieces of paper, match the fucking things up, and all of a sudden, well, shit, I'm breeding Dax to Bullseye blood, so it's going to hit, or I'm breeding HEFF to Paco blood, so it's going to hit, or whatever the fuck you happen to be breeding. I mean, dogs make dogs. Paper don't make dogs, I guess is my point.
That's it's a great point. It's a point that I like to make all the time. I don't care what the paperwork says. Show me the two dogs you're going to breed. Show me their parents, and show me their litter mates. That's what I want to see. Then you get a really good idea of what's in that gene pool, what traits are being carried through, what traits came from the parents into the dogs you're breeding and into the litter mates of the dogs you're breeding. That gives you a much better idea of what the gene pool looks like than looking at a 7-generation pedigree, in my opinion.
No question. It's nothing more than paper. And half the time, especially if we're talking about American bullies, a good majority of that paper is bullshit anyhow. So what the fuck are you really looking at?
How dare you, Bo Bettencourt? How dare you? No, it's 100% correct. It's hard to tell. Even now, a lot of these, new people coming in are getting sold pipe dreams with mutts who have American Bully papers. And it's like, it's frustrating, but at the same time, the people that are breeding the quality American Bullies, the quote unquote real American Bullies, aren't doing enough to get those people away from the pipe dreams and the 6, 7, 8, 15 times Dax or Bullseye, or, which you can clearly tell. Here's the thing. If you look at something, this is the only time we're looking at a pedigree makes sense. If you look at a pedigree and every dog in that pedigree is blue, if it's 5 generations of blue, but the stud that you're using is, I don't know, let's say purple tri or green tri or whatever these new fucking colors that they make up every day. So if you got a green tri stud, but every dog in the dog's pedigree is blue, it's probably not right. It's probably not correct on the pedigree.
You might be onto something, Ty.
If you look at that picture pedigree and every single dog in 5 generations is blue, I'm not a color expert, but I feel like it's pretty close to impossible for a dog to just be randomly tri, no matter how many times it's inbred.
You know what? The color gene is something that all of a sudden has become extremely popular, and there's one reason, at least in my opinion, behind it, and it has to do with money. People are willing to pay more money for a colored dog. I'll be honest.
Well, at the pet market, I think has a lot to do with it, because pet people that are looking for a pet and not necessarily something to breed, they're willing to pay more money for a colored dog.
Sure they are. Ty, do you know how many tri-American Bullies there was back in the 03 to 07 era?
Well, what, Kai, really? Kai was like the first one that I seen.
Kai, you had Razor's Nation Gotti, the Manu son down there with Kent.
Yep.
You had...
which Gotti's like... Awesome. Another, shout out to those guys from Razor Nation. That's another legend out there.
Right. And I'll tell you what, I used that dog at one point in time. I bred him to this bitch I had way back in the day, Alexis. I bred it on down 3-4 generations. You know how many damn tries I ever got?
Probably not many.
Let's say a big fat goose egg, 0.
Which... Like I said, until Kai, I didn't really see a lot.
They weren't around, and now all of a sudden, that's all the craze these days is color. And to me, I don't care if it's yellow, blue, pink, purple. I don't give a fuck what it is. If it's shit, it's shit. If it starts first instructor, it's a badass dog. It's a badass dog regardless of what color it comes in. And then guess what? It happens to carry some color traits that are desirable. Well, put a feather in your fucking cap. That's a bonus.
That's icing on the fucking cake. That's exactly how I look at it. And see, the fact that I've expanded a little bit, and I do have a little bit of a wider reach as far as a pet market goes, and as far as like an international market goes. So if I can keep breeding the level of, the high quality dogs that still meet my standards and still live up to my standards, if I can stay on that track and continue to get dogs that I'm happy with and have color, it's icing on the cake. But I don't care if a dog's green. If you walk in with a green dog and it's badass, we're going to talk. We're going to have a conversation. I'm going to want to know what's going on with this badass dog, even if it's green. Doesn't matter.
Badass is badass.
That's exactly right. Now, back then, Blue, now, we can't say color wasn't a thing, though. There was no tries, but blue was a big fucking thing then.
Oh shit! If you had a blue dog, you had the meal ticket right there. Blue, blue, blue.
So, I mean, it's kind of like a revolving fucking door almost, you know? For a long time, it was just champagne. It wasn't even try. It was just that champagne.
Yeah.
Before that, it was blue. You know, buckskin dogs have always, like, I feel like certain colors, sleek black, you know, jet black that's real glossy, that fawn, champagne blue, like they show lines better, muscles jump out better. You know, certain, it just makes certain dogs look better. Certain colors do,
No.
as opposed to like a shitty brindle. It just takes away every line from the dog. You know, no matter how badass it looks.
Right, or a dirty seal color or something like
Right.
that. I mean, regardless of how badass, the color just dilutes the muscle structure, the tone of the dog, and it is what it is. I mean, certain colors definitely make it pop more, for sure.
For sure. But I feel like it's always been like there's always been some sort of color craze or color chase going on, you know?
Yeah, yeah. To a certain degree, you're definitely right. In today's age, it's obviously that tricolor, the lilac, or whatever the hell people call them these days.
Oh, bro, it's moving into Merles now. Shit's moving into Merle now.
Man, do you know when Merle, that shit first came out? I remember the old MSN boards way back in the day. Fuck, man, the first time somebody posted a Merle on there, the board completely bashed that person beyond anything people have ever even seen in today's era. Destroyed them. I mean, Merle was it was like you took a damn alien and set it in the room. Everybody freaked the fuck out.
Right. Now, since, well, you've had three breeds now: American Bullies, English Bulldogs, and Brahmas, yeah, or more?
No, just well, I mean, I guess if you go back even further, I actually had pit bulls originally.
Oh, so you started with American
Pit
Pit Bull Terriers also?
Exactly. Just barely, just vaguely. I only had them for a couple of years, and then I got onto the Razor's Edge kick, and so I started getting into some Razor's Edge dogs, breeding. I bought some females, bred them to other Razor's Edge dogs, and basically bred within the Edge line. And that's usually, I say that's what made my American Bullies, basically, is I was an Edge breeder back then.
Right, and it was 6-7 generations. You know, it was deep into that shit for a lot of guys before they really started getting those bully, quote unquote, bully traits locked in. But I'm owning four breeds now. I mean, how do you feel about that, about Merle? I mean, personally, would you breed it? Or are we going to see Merles coming out of West Coast Brahma? Are we going to see some Merle Brahmas rolling out of there soon? Or how do you feel about it?
I guess I can go back to an earlier statement. Badass is badass, and I don't really give a shit what color it comes in. I'll tell you that I don't think I could get Merles by breeding within my own line. I've never got one in 15 plus years, so I don't know why in the hell one would pop up now.
Right.
But shit, who knows? A leprechaun may be around the corner. I just haven't found him yet.
Right.
But,
You got is Bing hiding up there? Is that little mini English Bulldog Bing hiding up there? Because I feel like there's a lot of things, like, I don't really give a shit what color your dog is. I really don't care. My thing is, I don't want to see people go and cross in other breeds just to get bring a color into that breed. You know what I mean? Like, why cross an English Bulldog with something that's Merle just to bring in a Merle to the English Bulldog breed? You know what I mean? Now, if you show me a Merle English Bulldog that looks like a really nice, really typey English Bulldog, I won't have nothing to fuck. I don't care about that color at all. My concern is people latching onto these colors, and then the actual quality of the dogs that we see being presented goes downhill. That's what I'm afraid of.
From my standpoint, like you, I don't care about the color, but I want to make it very clear. I absolutely in no way, shape, or form will I sacrifice my structure simply to get a color trait.
Right.
It's structure, build of the dog, type of the dog, first and foremost, above and beyond anything else that's out there from a color standpoint for me. I don't. If it happens, once again, if it happens to come that I get a try or some crazy Merle popped out of the gold pot or whatever have you, so be it. But am I breeding for that? Absolutely not. I'm breeding for badass fucking dogs. And whatever color they come out in, badass dogs.
Right. So, and then that's, it's apparent you've had, especially American Bullies, you've had damn near every color. Even Wrong Turn, that little brindle freaky pocket boy that you had. That not a real flattering brindle, but a crazy looking dog.
He was exotic before exotic was exotic.
Yeah, and there was a lot of, I feel like there was a lot of dogs that were quote unquote exotic before that whole movement got started. Now, with your focus being more on the Brahmas, what is the big picture goal for you guys? Because I know you and Clint, like you were saying, are working close, pretty close together to try to keep the breed from kind of getting out of hand like the American Bullies, and try to keep everything on track and try to get the breed established somewhere with a couple different registries. What is like the big picture goal for the Brahmas, and what exactly makes up a Brahma?
Well, the big picture goal, at least in my eyes, is to one day have the Brahma as a nationally recognized breed, not a designer breed or a hybrid, if you will, but to actually have a solidified breed of dog that when you breed a Brahma, you get a Brahma. Right now, it's far too early to say that, just because there's not enough generational dogs within Brahma out there yet. Clint has obviously got his line, his strain of dogs that he's been breeding. I've got my line, my strain of dogs. They're completely separate from one another as far as mine and Clint's. And as far as working together from a breeding standpoint, we've only done that I think he's used, his camp, I should say, Curtis, used Winston one time. So there's some stud dogs or some males that are out there from that litter. I've had some interest in their camp to use some of my other dogs, some of my studs. Myself, I've never used one of their dogs or one of his studs, so it's really limited in that sense.
Right.
Because once again, it's still so early. Everybody wants something to happen overnight. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't work that way. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes dedication. To ultimately get there.
What's the farthest in that you guys are in as far as generation wise? Like, how deep do the generations go with the oldest Brahma?
For me, if you take away all my American Bullies and don't count those generations, I think the furthest I am into Brahma is only like 3 generations. If you add the American Bullies in there, because I produce those as well, I'm probably like 9 or 10 generations.
Right, but I can only assume, for a lot of those generations, you were trying to get American Bullies, not Brahmas. So
exactly. I wasn't hanging papers. I wasn't trying to make Brahmas or exotics or anything like that
right.
when I bred American bullies.
Right, so technically the Brahma, as far as the generations, would probably be that like you're saying, 3 generations. So
For
that's
stuff,
yeah,
yes.
for your stuff, that's how long you've actually been trying to get Brahmas out of those breedings.
Getting something to work with, no question. I mean,
Right.
Clint might be further along. Clint's probably 5 generations, maybe even more on his side, because he obviously started breeding his dogs before I did.
Right.
My make a Brahma.
Right. My point is, shit doesn't happen overnight. Even if it's 5 generations, that's not a long time, to get something solidified, to get something set in stone.
Absolutely not. It takes many, many generations of breeding like characteristics to one another before you're going to come up with any sort of consistency. And the ultimate goal is from first, say you have a litter of 6 puppies, 8 puppies. The goal is to have 6 or 8 puppies that all, from a characteristic standpoint, are like to one another. Right now, even in my own breedings, 3 generations in, as well as people that are still doing just F1s and stuff like that, shit, you may do a litter and have 6, 8 puppies and one fucking dog comes out that fits what the Brahma is aiming towards. The rest of them, maybe they came out damn near full English Bulldogs, maybe they came out damn near full American Bullies. You know what I mean?
Right.
All the dogs don't hit the nail. You know what I mean?
I'm a little distracted right now. I'm sure you're used to this also. If you can hear in the background what sounds like someone trying to start a chainsaw or a weed eater, that would be my shorty bull snoring. Now listen, this little motherfucker is 2 rooms away. He's 2 rooms away from the microphone. It's almost like he has a loudspeaker sitting next to him. The bull breeds, dude, are crazy. But getting back to what you were saying, I'm my bad, dude. It sounds like someone's trying to start a Briggs and Stratton motor back there. But I mean, I'm sure it's something you're used to with the English Bulldogs and the Brahmas running around and stuff too. But getting back to what you were saying, like it's going to take some time. It's going to take some generations to get a consistent look, to get 6 out of 6 puppies that you can honestly say, all right, this is 6 Brahmas.
Exactly.
So what the Brahma is a combination of English Bulldog and American Bully.
Well, here's an easier way to say it: is there's a standard, a written standard that's been around, I believe, since '09, and basically you're able to use whatever breeds you feel like in order to hit that standard, with an exception. And the exceptions are: you can't use a French Bulldog, you can't use a Shorty Bull, and you cannot use a Pacific Bulldog. As far as the rest of them, if you feel like you can hit that Brahma standard, and that's what, as a breeder, that's what you should be breeding towards, is the standard for that breed. And if you can feel like you can hit that standard by mixing a Staffy Bull with an American Bulldog and a fucking an oldie, well, knock yourself out.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Well, it's not.
Well, actually, I shouldn't say that because I don't have the Brahma Standard. I'm going to actually have to double check and see if it's on the ABKC website. Do you have a copy? Do you have access to that Brahma Standard?
For sure.
I'll get with you after we're done, but I'm going to have you email it to me just in case it's not up on the website, because I know they're doing a lot of revamping and renovations and shit with the website, and there's a lot of shit that didn't get put on there in the first place. So I'll get with you afterwards. But I agree, you as a breeder, you should be breeding toward that standard, but it's self-limitation. It's going to limit what you can add in to because you have to get certain traits. So you're not going to be able to add a Staffy Bull in and still have a big big square muzzle with a layback and wrinkles on top.
You better, exactly. You better use a fuckload of oldie bulldog or English bulldog with that thing if you're gonna.
Right, but you see what I'm saying? It's gonna limit itself just by the traits that the standard calls for. It's gonna limit what you can put in there.
For me, what's worked for me, I've dabbled with some other stuff. I've used some oldie. Basically, when I bred oldies to my American bullies, I made goddamn American bullies. That's what I made. I tried because I wanted the head size. I wanted some of the type, the muscle tone, the tightness of skin, things like that. I tried an American Bulldog. Neither one of those two worked for me. What I ultimately have found that works for me is my American Bully stock mixed with select English Bulldogs that bring the traits my American Bullies are lacking. And when I do that, and I do it over generations, and I try to match up those pick of the litters that I feel like hit the standard to pick of the litters from another breeding, well, it just continues to get better for me.
Right. I mean, it's in.
I think one of my keys to success, if you look at even back in American Bullies, one of my keys to success has been I've created my own stock from the beginning. I took the pick of the litters to the pick of the litters to the pick of the litters to the pick of the litters. You see what I'm getting at?
Right.
I took the best of the best to each other every time. Nowadays, you see people that simply, once again, they have the blood. Maybe it was a third pick, maybe it was a fourth pick, whatever the case may be. And not saying, hey, a third or fourth pick can't turn out to be the pick at the end of the day, because not everybody's looking at the same thing. But typically, those dogs are lesser quality from the jump, and they're going to typically, unless bred properly, unless to pull out the characteristics that they can bring to the table, most of the time there's a reason that they're a later pick in the litter. They didn't have all the tools and characteristics that maybe another one did.
Well, and right, and as long as you've been breeding your stock, American Bullies, now Brahmas, even 3 generations in, you got a pretty good idea from an early age at, which ones have potential, which ones, this one's going to do this and this one's going to do this. And, when you have, this is my first pick, when you say this is my first pick, that's a pretty fucking educated decision. You know what I mean? As opposed to a guy that comes in, it's only got 3 litters ever under his belt. He's got 4 dogs total ever in his life. He's not making a very educated decision as far as that first pick. So the deeper you get into it, the more years and generations and litters you have, the more educated that pick becomes, I feel like. So it's not like those first picks are like, flip of a fucking coin. You're making a pretty educated pick when you're picking your first picks.
Absolutely. And I'll even tell you something that's a little crazier. I can't even count the number of times when I've went and had a C-section, and literally when the vet is pulling them out the tubes, we're waking them, trying to wake them up, drying them off, rubbing them, sucking the fluid out of their lungs, different things like that. I've said right there on the spot, no, that's a bad motherfucker. That's the one. And hey, it doesn't happen all the time, but there's times that I've seen that, and just because I kind of feel like I know what I'm looking for, I see certain characteristics that just make me say, holy shit. Yeah. But granted, that didn't happen overnight. That's shit, man. I've been at this, I don't know, 15, 20 damn years.
Well, that's why I wanted you to come and talk about it, man, because it's a very young community as far as experience. Maybe not young as far as age goes, because we have a lot of 40, 30, 40, 50-year-old, grown-ass adults. But what I'm talking about is, as far as experience goes, we have a lot of young people in the community that don't necessarily understand some of the shit that you're talking about, because we don't have anybody telling them. We don't have anybody reaching out and saying, hey, instead of just slapping those pedigrees together, maybe you ought to look at the traits the dogs carry, the dominant traits they're going to push through. We don't have anyone telling these people what you're saying. I mean, we have me, but who the fuck listens to me? You know what I mean? So I appreciate the fact that you're willing to come and just talk about it openly and just put it bluntly, like, stop worrying about what the fuck that pedigree says to a certain extent. Start putting more focus on the actual traits the dogs carry and the dominant traits they're going to push.
Exactly. And if it lacks something, don't put your head in the sand and not go get what it lacks. If you got a limousine, sure, that dog's 16 inches and it's fucking 100 pounds. But Jesus Christ, if it's 4 feet long, well, that's why it's 100 pounds. It's not proportionate from height to back length.
Right.
Don't go breed it to another dog that's 4 feet fucking long. If you're trying to shorten up the back, go use a dog that brings a short back to the table. That's the only way you're going to get there.
Now, what if my cousin's sister Debbie has a male and she's only going to charge me $250, but he's a little bit long also. But she's only going to charge me $250 and he's try. Still no?
Easy answer.
Is that still no?
Easy answer. Absolutely not. Are you chasing the fucking money or are you chasing the dog? Which one? Because they both don't equal out in that case.
Right, and you know, I don't know. I joke about it, but it's a serious problem where people they have some sort of connection to someone who owns a dog that looks like a bully. Who knows if it's even papered a lot of the times. But, you know, it's down the street. They're going to charge them $250. You're going to have a litter of puppies. You're going to be selling those puppies for $800 in Hoobly or $800 on your local for sale group on Facebook. What to me, that's an issue. To me, that is part of the fucking problem. So I don't know. I joke about it, but it's something serious, and I'm glad that, you know, I've got somebody on here that feels the way I do about it. You know, you go out and find it. Doesn't matter what it costs you. Doesn't matter who owns the dog. Doesn't matter who the dog's been bred to or who bred to the dog. That shit doesn't matter. What you're lacking, go find it and get it and bring it in. Because that's the only way you're going to get it. That's the only way. It's not gonna spontaneously show up out of thin air. It's not magic. It's not going to happen.
Exactly. I'll relate it like this, Ty. The first time, let's relate dog breeding to some other professions out there, because to a lot of people this is their profession, or at least they state themselves as they're a professional dog breeder, right? Well, let's say you're a basketball player. Do you think that LeBron James, the first 2 years he touched the ball, was a superstar? Probably not. Was an attorney? The first 5 cases that the attorney tried, was he near the attorney that he was 20 years in, 10 years in? Probably not. Doctors. I mean, go on down the list of different professions. That's the one thing in life that you can't replace. You can talk to people till you're blue in the face. You can sit out there and read as many books as you want. You can try to gain all the knowledge from your vet that they're willing to share with you. But ultimately, the one thing you can't replace is time. And what comes along with time is experiences. And those experiences is what ultimately molds you and molds your thought processes, your methodologies, the ways that you attack and go forth at something is based on what's happened in the past. Right. And if you don't have a very long history past to pull upon, well, you're probably, you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, for sure. And I'll take it a step further, maybe not even time, but repetitions. Because if you do something 15 years, but you've only had one litter every 3 years for 15 years. You only had 5 fucking litters under your belt. So I'll take it a step further and say repetitions. How many repetitions you get at something? How many free throws do you think LeBron has or took before he was proficient at free throws? You know, insert free throw joke there if you have one. But
No,
but
you're spot on.
yeah, no. How many repetitions do you think that though a professional puts in before he's proficient at doing something? So for me, it's how many repetitions you've had. That's why I put so much emphasis and give so much credit to people that have multiple productions. Don't show me one dog you produced 5 years ago. Show me 5 dogs you produced last year.
Right.
Show me what you're
right.
doing now. Show me what you've done lately. Like you said earlier, you're as good as your last breeding, really.
Right. Right.
But I think it's like you're saying, time and repetition. That's what makes you proficient at something for sure.
And it doesn't matter if we're talking dog breeding, professional athletes, doctors, lawyers, car salesmen. Fuck, man, it goes on and on and on.
Yep.
Pick a profession. It takes time and repetition to become proficient at something, and that doesn't happen the first year, the first 2 years, 3 years. It's typically over an extended period of time.
For sure. So how long do you think, as far as your Brahmas now, 3 generations in, how close are you, and how many generations do you think, if you're not close now, how many generations do you think it'll take to get close? Because the young stuff that I got to put hands on 2 years ago, up there while we were in Oregon was nice stuff. Thick bone, thick rear, definitely look like Brahmas. Some structural stuff, obviously that there's always going to be something that you're going to want to tweak here and there, but definitely look like Brahmas, and they were young stock when I was there. So where are you now, and how close are you?
Well, let me first start by saying there's no perfect dog out there. I don't care how many generations into something you are, you're never going to create a perfect dog. There's always going to be something that you would like to change, or maybe you'd like to add or take away or whatever. So
sure.
No perfect dog, first and foremost. As far as how close am I will say that the stock that you saw 2 years ago compared to the stock I have today, today's stock is better. So in that sense, it's definitely going the right direction.
Right.
As far as, am I there yet? No. I can't say, in 2 more generations I'll have it. I mean, that'd be foolish. But I will say I like the direction it's going. It's continuing to get better. As long as I'm able to match up my dogs, get bitches to conceive, studs to produce the semen. You know what I'm saying? As long as everything still just continues at the rate it has, it's going to continue to get better for years to come. And the reason I say I'm not there yet, quite simply, is because I'm yet to still have a litter that every single dog out of that litter hit the mark that I'm chasing.
Right.
At first, in the first generation, I was looking for 1 dog. Maybe 2, if I was lucky, out of a litter that hit the mark that I wanted. The rest of them, they maybe fell short here, they fell short there. That doesn't mean don't use that dog. That doesn't mean, pull it or put it in the closet and never see from it again. All it means is that dog needed something more in order to get closer to where I wanted to go. So, time. I mean, it's still going to take time, but I'm definitely going in the right direction. I like what I have today a lot better than what I had last year, the year before, the year before. It's a continual evolution.
That's dope, and it's refreshing to hear. You very easily could have said, I'm there. I'm there. You very, very easily could have said that. because you're deep into it. 3 generations. I mean, anybody who's put time into this shit knows to get 3 generations on paper. Sometimes you really have to do 5 generations because sometimes shit doesn't make the cut. So you've got to take a detour and add a step to the plan. But it's just refreshing to hear somebody say that, you know, we're still under construction and even still at the drawing board to some extent. So that's dope. That's super dope. And I seen this boy. Actually, I got video of Dez when we were in Atlanta last year, the end of last year. And that dog is a fucking gorilla, dude. Monster. DJ owns him. Monster of a dog. So if that's the direction the breed's headed in, it's definitely something unique to itself. It's definitely something that's not an American bully, and it's not an English bulldog, and it's not an oldie. I mean, I know if you know anything about old English bulldogs, you know the range on the breed is fucking super wide. You
Right.
basically can breed damn near anything you want together and call it an oldie, and people will go along, and even the IOEBA won't even question you about it.
Right.
So if that's the direction, if Dez is the direction, or if even close to that, it's definitely something unique to itself, and it's definitely, I think, something that can catch on because it was a massive dog, compact frame, real big bully proportions. So I think people will definitely gravitate towards it. So if that's a precursor to what's to come, I'm excited for you guys. It's definitely it's been interesting to see the steps, because I've basically seen every step from Clint, coming out with it, and the big drama on the boards about, him being honest and being open about the mixing and stuff, and then to see if a couple of generations come off of him, and then a couple of generations come off of your stuff now, and a couple of generations come from a couple other guys. It's just been interesting to see the steps this breed's went through.
For sure. I mean, Dez is definitely he's one of the earlier dogs that I produced. I want to say he's probably 3 years old now. Actually, an F1 breeding, if you could believe that, produced him. And like I say, when I'm shooting for one in those first generation crosses, Dez was the one that I was shooting for, basically. Fast forward to today, actually last weekend, DJ took him out to, I believe it was a BRC show, something right there in his area. Took Dez in, actually put him in the People's Choice Award, and won the whole fucking thing. So it's not like he's fell off, or maybe the eye candy has maybe shifted in another direction. I mean, people definitely see something about him that they like. I've bred back to him. DJ's bred him to one of his Brahma F1 breedings, and I've got a puppy coming my way. I've got a bitch that I'm about to run to him here in the next couple of weeks. That's what is she? She's like a 3rd generation or something. So yeah, I mean, it's Dez is definitely something I'm incorporating along with a host of other dogs. And,
right.
and to
I'm
me,
sure.
He's definitely a badass dog that can be built upon. He's a stepping stone, a necessary evil, if you will, in getting to where you got to get to see the vision through.
Well, it's a pretty badass stepping stone to have,
Well, Ty, it takes quality to make quality. I mean, you got to have
no doubt
a
about
quality dog in order to make something potentially better than what he is. And if Dez has attracted that much attention, you yourself had an impression of him when you saw him, well, it's a matter of now using him and trying to get something better from him. And as long as you continually do that, generation after generation, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you're going to see dogs that have Dez in their blood, for example, in the ancestry. But yet, my goal is I would hope that they just expand on and it kind of exemplifies some of those features and traits that Dez is known for.
You're a beast, dude. You're a fucking monster, man. I mean, and It's no surprise. I mean, the longer we talk, it's no surprise to me why you have been, and continue to be successful as a dog man. I mean, it's an impressive thing. If you could say one, this is the key to longevity in breeding, the key to being around for a decade plus, just one thing. Bring it down to one thing, the most important thing to being around long term in breeding dogs. What would you say that is?
Break it down to one thing. Know what the hell you're breeding. Actually, I mean, it's one thing to see it on paper. It's one thing for someone to tell you, but for me, I can only talk about what's worked for me. And for me, I've known the stock that I'm working with. I know the traits my stock's brought to the table. So when I do a breeding, I have a pretty damn good probability of what to expect out of them feature-wise. If you don't know, you're just sticking your hand in a bag, turn your head the other way, pull something out, and hope the hell you like it.
Right, and I feel like maybe the first step to really knowing what your stock brings to the table is being the ability to be honest with yourself. Be honest
with yourself, and don't be afraid to pick someone's brain and try to glean as much knowledge off of a person that maybe has been there before you and is further down the road than you are, that can teach you and help you in that direction. There's no shame in getting help from people. I mean, I've been around a significant amount of years, but Jesus, I still reach out to people. I still have questions from time to time. I'm not sitting back high on my stoop thinking I got it all figured out. I mean, the day I stop learning is the day I'm done. And I don't feel like I'll ever be there, because somebody else always has something to bring to the table that I didn't think of, I didn't know. You're always learning. You always got to continue to keep your mind open and learn.
Right, that's got to be the key right there. Keep your mind open and be willing to learn every day.
Don't box yourself in.
The key to being around 15 years and transcending 2 different breeds, 3 different breeds, 4 different breeds. The key to having a Nationals winner and relevant stud dogs and being around 10, 15 plus years. Keep your fucking mind open and always be willing to learn. I can't think of a better spot to end it, dude. That's perfect. Give everybody plug away, man. Give us your links. Give everybody your links on social media where they can find you, where they can find out more information about HEFF, the Brahma Bulls. Plug whatever you got.
Sure. As far as Facebook, I mean, shit, everybody's on Facebook, but I got a personal page. It's Bo at West Coast Brahma, or I believe it's actually Bo WC Brahma is what that one is.
So just BOWC Brahma.
BO and then a space WC Brahma.
On
all WC Brahma, all one word. That one's pretty limited, and I don't post as much to that as what I do actually the West Coast Brahma page. There's a page out there, search for it, West Coast Brahma. That's unlimited. It's not limited to 5,000 fans or followers. Like it away, like. I post a lot more on that. I also have an Instagram account. It's the same, Bo, the space, WC Brahma as well. That's my Instagram account. Just recently coming up with a YouTube video channel for some of these Brahmas. There's only a couple of videos posted because I'm just now getting around to videoing some of these dogs. Same deal, West Coast Brahma on the YouTube channel.
So basically, if people type in West Coast Brahma, they're going to be able to find you. They're going to be able to find some shit for sure.
Hashtag that shit on Instagram, West Coast Brahma, all one word. Put it together. You'll find me that way. Same with on Facebook. If you want to follow either one of them, like I say, the West Coast Brahma page would be a better one to follow, just because the fans are unlimited in that sense.
Right, I'm sure your personal page is maxed out, as most of our shit is. The business pages make it much more convenient. So for anybody, any inquiring minds, just go to Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, type in West Coast Brahma. The shit's gonna come up, man. Bo, I appreciate it, man. It's a privilege for me to be able to sit down and pick your brain. Always had a lot of respect for you. Always had a lot of admiration for the dogs that come out and the productions that come out. So I appreciate you being on the show, and hopefully we can make it a recurring thing. We can have you back on to talk about maybe some current events or hot topics or something in a later episode. You know.
For sure, I got two of them actually. That would be some pretty cool topics to talk about.
What do you got? What do you got? Give us a little. Plant a seed. Plant a seed.
I got two things that I've been working on. One of them being U Breed, just the letter U, breed. It's AI kits. Obviously, I've been around a while. It's for sending chilled semen across state lines, chilled extended semen.
Right.
That's something that I probably offer the best rate in the industry. I take care of the freight, not only to the stud owner, but also from the stud owner to the bitch. It's all one price. I just send you a shipping label. So that's one thing that I'm just getting up and going. The whole website's being redeveloped, getting the promotion side of that up. And another one that's actually really cool, it's been going on in the background for a little while. I'm working with some app developers out there that I'm actually in the process of building a kennel management application. They'll basically store and log data for your whole yard. Enter the dogs, the names, all your dog's information, breeding dates, pedigrees, litters, contacts, who bought this dog, how many dogs were in a litter, pictures, you name it. There's an application I've been working on that'll be available too. So
well,
both of those things.
Listen, anytime you got shit coming out or something new coming out, just hit me up, man. It's an open invite. You're welcome anytime.
Most definitely. I appreciate that.
So U Breed is going to be the new site. What's the app? What's the name of the app?
It's going to be Kennel Partner.
U Breed and Kennel Partner. Keep your fucking eyes and ears open, people. Hey, Bo, I appreciate you, sir.
I appreciate you, man. Take care of yourself.
All right, I'm gonna run the outro, and I'll get with you. I'll get with you soon. We're gonna publish tomorrow morning, and I'll let you know on that shit. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Bo. Okay. What a fucking privilege it is to be able to talk to people about shit that I love. Seriously, how blessed am I? Huge thanks to Bo. Huge shout out to Bo. The guy, it's a smart guy, man. That U Breed shit and the Kennel Partner app. I'd be lying if I didn't feel a little twinge when he was talking about the Kennel Partner app, because that's an idea that I feel like I should have came up with. Because that's a great idea. That's genius shit. Obviously HEFF is a legend. If there was a Mount Rushmore, he might be one of the dogs going on Mount Rushmore for American bullies. Still to this day, made a major impact. Disappointing for me that Bo doesn't do American bullies anymore, because I'm sure he would produce some badass American bullies. As always, brought to you by Bull-NA-ChinaShop.com. Bull-NA-ChinaShop.com for all episodes of the Bull-NA-China Shop podcast. Check out Bull-NA-ChinaShop.com. The blog page. The menu's in the top right-hand corner. Hit the blog page. The newest episode will be at the top of the blog page. The further you scroll down, the further back in the catalog you go, all the way down to number 1. If you have the balls to scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll find episode number 1. If you want to watch videos, stay on the home page. Much more coming, much more in store for Bull-NA-ChinaShop.com. Bull-NA-ChinaShop.com is the home of the Bull-NA-China Shop podcast, the first and the only podcast dedicated to bull breeds and the American bully lifestyle. We're also brought to you by, that's Bull-NA-ChinaShop.com. We're also brought to you by the Bully Embassy. Bully Embassy is an elite group of breeders, handlers, owners, and judges from around the world. One of the most sought after groups in the bull breed community. You can find us at your next show. Just look for the Big Bully Embassy tent, or check us out on Facebook at The Bully Embassy, or go to thebullyembassy.com. I want to do a shout out to Original Bully Clothing Company. Also, bought some shirts, bought a hoodie. I've always supported Original Bully. Dwight, the owner of the company, was kind enough to leave me a handwritten note in my package. That's the kind of shit that separates people. Shout out to Original Bully Clothing Company. Find out more information at originalbully.com. That's a free one, Dwight. That's the only one you're going to get. Okay. We're getting the fuck out of here. This will be published very early on Tuesday tomorrow. Because I am going back to Holland for a few days. Dropping another puppy off in Holland. Also some appointments to see some dogs, to see some kennels, some yards. No show this time, just straight tourist mode. The only thing I got to see was the bottom of a glass, an adult beverage glass, last time in Amsterdam. Don't think I'm even going to Amsterdam this time. Just going to see some real deal tourist scenery shit. So I'll be out of commission for a few days, but as always, I had to get the episode in. How dope is Bo, by the way? Hope everybody enjoyed that episode. I can't say thank you enough to everybody that listens to the show. I can't say thank you enough. I love your faces. I can't see your faces, but I love your fucking faces. See you next week.